It has become a thing for the New York Knicks. Get a team just where they want them, 20 points ahead. Their Game 3 win was the third time this postseason New York has won a game they trailed by 20. First team ever to do that in a single playoff spring. Rick Carlisle chalks it up to the ebb and flow of playoff basketball.
They hit some hellacious shots in the game last night. We hit some hellacious shots in the first two games. It's a back and forth thing. We got to be ready to come back stronger tomorrow.
I mean, it's always process. That's what it always is. Where can we get better? Offensively, we've had a great series thus far. And then defensively, you hold that team like that's 106. You should win that game. So we got to, 100 points isn't us.
When you're down 20 plus, it tests the character of everyone in that locker room and our willingness to not give up and continue to fight. So you got to show that kind of never say quit attitude. And it's a testament to everyone in that locker room.
It was a wild night in Indianapolis. Game 3 was the Karl Anthony Towns game. He had 20 in the fourth quarter. The Knicks outscored the Pacers by 16 in those final 12 minutes. Their defense was great. What does this mean moving forward?
Well, I think it's critical, not just that they won, but how they won. There's no better way to build upon your trust and your belief system than to go on the road, be down 20, down 2-0 in a series, and come back and win a game, and you win it the way you would like, right? Some adjustments from the coaching staff, but then your best player being at his best down the stretch, or one of your best players in Karl Anthony Towns. That all gives you confidence. And you talked about the fact they come back from 3 times down 20. How about both these teams are like cardiac kids? Because the Pacers have come back down 7 points in the last minute 3 times in this post. So both these teams have great confidence, and I think it's setting up. I thought this series would go 7. I still kind of feel like it will. And these are 2 teams that I think will both show up again in Game 4.
Related topics, the Knicks really needed Towns to play the way he did down the stretch because Jalen Brunson wasn't on the floor for almost the entirety of that fourth quarter. That combined with a newfound bench for the New York Knicks that Tom Thibodeau has dug into a little bit.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's the way he wanted and drew it up. Knowing how Tibbs is and how New York is, that's their identity is, heavy minutes for the
short
starters.
Short rotation.
Exactly, very short rotation. But that's why you bring in Towns. That's why you make the move that you do. And he steps up. He steps up in the biggest moments. And when you get guys that aren't used to playing, guys that are coming off the bench, guys that may be a little bit underappreciated, undervalued a little bit in certain aspects, this is your time now. You're down, like you said, 0-2. You're on the road. You have nothing left to lose. And then when you got a guy that you traded for and a Karl Anthony Towns that's stepping up, that makes everybody else come along too. And, hey, it's a battle. It's the playoffs. You know how it is. 20-point lead is nothing in the regular season. Now in the postseason, you just got it by any means.
20-point lead in the second quarter really is almost nothing at this point in NBA history. Fourth quarter problems for Indiana, that is a real issue because 26% shooting, the New York defense, which is better without Brunson on the floor typically, was excellent in the fourth quarter, not only in terms of half-court possessions, but their transition defense and keeping Indy from running.
Well, that's what I thought it was. I thought their offense allowed them to defend. They weren't turning it over a ton. They were keeping the Pacers out of transition. I've always said that the thing about the Pacers, you can have success if you can force them to play the last 7 seconds of a shot clock. Because as the clock gets deeper, your defense tends to get better because you take away options now. You've got less to have to concern yourself with. And I think that was a big factor for the Knicks in that fourth quarter. If you're Rick Carlisle, you've got to figure out a way to get your rhythm and your running game going. And I think defensively, sometimes the hardest thing to do is to play when you're up 20. Easiest thing to do is to play when you're down 20. Mm-hmm. And you saw that play out in that game. The Knicks, once they got that confidence and got rolling, the Pacers had no answer.
Indiana is still in control, up 2-1. They've got Game 4 on their home floor. They are as close to an ensemble cast as you'll see at this stage in the playoffs. But Tyrese Halliburton has looked like a superstar at times in this series.
And that makes them a very, very tough team. You think that he took that personal about being a
most overrated player.
Most overrated player.
Overrated
player, yeah. But Indy's best weapon is their pace of play. That's their number one thing. And obviously he's the head of the snake. He's the engine. The way when he can play in space and when he's at his best, truthfully, in my opinion, is when he's not afraid to attack and get into the paint. As you said, if you can get 2 feet in the paint, you break down defenses. He can already do that from stretching the court for his 3-point shooting, his passing. But when he decides that I'm going to get 2 feet in the paint and finish at the rim as well, now you have to guard him at all 3 levels. Now the court is open.
Game 4 happens tomorrow in Indianapolis. You'll see that game on TNT. By the way, Tyrese's dad, John Halliburton, should be back in the building. Make of that what you will. They're going to allow him to sit in a suite. This is all after he's been sitting out after that dust-up with Giannis Antetokounmpo back in the playoff series with the Bucks. He'll be back. He's not allowed to go on the road, apparently. But he'll be back in Indianapolis in a suite watching, presumably, tomorrow night.
Yeah, but what if somebody allowed him to sit in the suite in the guard? Would the team could stop him?
It's above my pay grade.
Now, I don't know if he got any friends in New York that have a suite, but you never know.
To be in the suite.
He may now. I don't know. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP, had a pretty quiet Game 3, as did virtually all his teammates. We'll see what's in store tonight for Game 4. Oklahoma City was not only the best team in the regular season, they set an NBA regular season record for scoring margin, but they were on the wrong end of this incredibly lopsided Game 3 with Minnesota winning by 42. Mark Daigneault's taking it in stride.
You're going to taste your own blood sometimes, and it's not even the worst thing for you. And we've had a great year. We haven't had a lot of games like that, but the team's always done a great job of responding to the emotion of any game, including wins. Let it go and be the best team we could be and throw our best punch in Game 4.
I mean, if anything, it just hurts your pride a little bit. You know, they all count for one, but you know, obviously, just as competitors, like, you don't want to lose games, but especially in that fashion. You didn't play how you're supposed to play. It's not a lack of respect for the Timberwolves. I think they were playing for their lives, and we didn't come out with the right mindset. Things that we can control, we didn't control last game. When you look at it through that lens, it presents itself in a way that you don't need to hit an emergency button, but you do need to course correct and get back to who you are.
Game 4 tips tonight in Minneapolis, where the Timberwolves have won 10 of their last 11 going back to the regular season. Oklahoma City this season is 15-2 following losses. Make of all that what you will. What are you looking for tonight?
I mean, you said Ant-Man goes crazy in Game 4s, right? That's
historically, yes.
That's what I'm looking for. Then I'm looking for him to take another step and cement himself and what he's been doing this season. I'm looking at him to carry Minnesota.
Again, 34.5 points per game in Game 4s over his career, including 43 in the first round against the Lakers.
Yeah, listen, I thought this could go 7, and I think in order to go 7, Minnesota has to win tonight. But I do think OKC is going to play at a high level tonight. Anytime you get it handed to you the way they did in Game 3, I think they respond. But I'm still going to go with the Timberwolves.
You're still going with the Timberwolves.
I want to see a 7-game series.
I can almost guarantee the game will be more competitive tonight.
Yes.
I feel pretty
comfortable.
Way to go out on a limb. Feel pretty comfortable
Way to
with that.
jump out on that rope there.
That we'll be here for post-game coverage when it's all said and done in Minneapolis. We'll see you then.